To celebrate Women's History Month and International Women's Day, ITF America's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee invites you to hear an amazing story, one of courage, integrity, and indomitable spirit. Who is a Taekwondo master? This is an interview with Master Faaborg, 7th Dan in ITF Taekwondo. Taekwondo practitioners everywhere will know just how impressive it is to meet a female master. Out of all 7th Dan and up, a measly 6% are women. For us women coming up through the ranks, another woman master inspires such a sense of wonder and awe. She seems like a superhero. But with Master Becky, that's just scratching the surface of how amazing and inspiring she really is. First of all, she is humble, friendly, and approachable. Second, she is always available to mentor students and is open to questions and good conversation. But wait until you hear her full story in this interview. Master Becky, welcome. I'm so excited to chat with you about your life and to share your life story. And let's start from the beginning. When did you begin your Taekwondo journey and what drew you to this particular martial art?
Well, I taught floor exercise at a gym in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and there was a Taekwondo class. And a friend of mine and I started taking classes there, and it stuck with me. Then eventually both my daughters joined me in Taekwondo. So 1989 is the year I started.
Wow. So I bet there were very few women back then in the classes, and especially, as you gained rank and rose through the ranks in the 1990s. I mean, how did you deal with being the only woman in class? I mean, do you have any stories to share?
Well, when I started out being, a white belt, there were more women in the classes, but every time I was promoted, there were fewer women at my rank. But I was given the opportunity to work with some great women in Albuquerque, Sherry, Valerie, Sally, which were really my mentors, and we trained together and tested together. But I have noticed every rank, there are fewer women, and in ITF America, there's a Master Ranieri and myself, the only two women in masters.
Yes, it is extremely challenging, to be sort of the only one in the room, and to still continue and you're just an amazing role model now. And it is interesting that you bring up that you had these role models when you first started. I think every woman who is successful in anything, gets to that, be it a C-suite in business or be it a master in Taekwondo, that she has some mentors or supporters who are women. So tell me, did you have an instructor who was a woman, or how did that go?
No, I never had a female instructor in Albuquerque, and then I opened up my own school here in Oklahoma in 2006. But I always found when I went to international events, ICs and seminars, and saw women of higher rank, it was like, wow, how impressive was that? And that they would, talk to me. And I've developed great relationships with many of these women in Canada and throughout the United States and other countries. It's just amazing that that special bond between other women within Taekwondo and how we gather together. And at IICs, often the women would get together just for a photo, just for the women to celebrate us for attending.
That's how few of us there really is. I think it's especially for people who are not maybe who are not in Taekwondo or not in martial arts, like that even just is such an amazing thing to hear, like take a photo.
Right. And I find myself now going to seminars, and I'll go around and talk to people. I'm a social butterfly, and I'll talk and go up and introduce myself and find out where they're from if I don't know them. But what's amazing about Taekwondo is the friendships, not just with the women, but the men. I have Taekwondo brothers, and I named our group the Yahoos. I don't know why. It's probably because they're Yahoos. But the idea that I do have friends all over the world in Taekwondo, we have that family in common, and it truly is a family. It's a way of life.
Yes, it's such an amazing community. It is a family. I know that, and you are sort of that person to me now, and it is amazing to see masters, men and women reaching out and kind of sharing in our passion together. I think that's it's an amazing bond we have. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you shifted, to teaching in sort of in the 2000s or so. So prior to that, I know that you were a registered nurse, and you also taught as a professor at the University of Central Oklahoma, teaching classes on wellness and responding to emergencies. So how did you actually make that transition from your other career over to Taekwondo, to running a Taekwondo school as an owner? That's a different thing, right, than being a student.
I loved being a nurse, and I recently retired in 2019. But I was an active nurse working full-time or part-time from 1986 to 2019. And along with teaching at UCO, I worked part-time as a nurse and taught Taekwondo.
Wow. 3 jobs.
Only
a woman can do.
2 jobs. I would, okay, how do I do this? So I would teach my classes back to back to back at UCO, University of Central Oklahoma, and then teach classes that night. And the other days I would work as a nurse in my career. So I've had several different careers, nursing has been very, very important to me, and so is Taekwondo. Like I said previously, it's a lifestyle. It's not so much a career to me as a lifestyle. Once I received my master's degree, I'm skipping ahead to one of your questions about, I opened my own school in 2006 at a YMCA. Right. And I happened to do my graduate internship there and taught self-defense classes around to many of the seniors in the different greater Oklahoma City Ys. Well, it just followed that I was offered a space to teach Taekwondo at that small YMCA in Edmond. Mm-hmm. And I had a small space, so I didn't have many students, but I had a long wait list. Then transferred to a brand new, huge YMCA in Edmond, and the space quadrupled. It enabled me to have more students, but not too many. I have 2 black belts that teach with me. But to be able to teach with what my students know or what they need, I limit the number. So my wait list is long.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I mean, I think that's really the way to do it, is to, kind of select, you have your students, who you really give a lot of attention to. And as you said, it is a way of life. It is not, a business in that sense that it's, just about making the money. And I think that is how you are successful, right? Is that you really pay attention to the dough, to the way of Taekwondo teaching, and also learning yourself. I mean, you mentioned that you go to IICs, which for people who don't know is an international instructors course. And many instructors, don't really go to those that much. And I, certainly as I myself, I love those courses. I mean, that's where we become also students, and we learn how to teach, and we bring that to our students. And so that's really important as well. So let me shift gears a little bit, because I really want to get to this important part of your journey. which is that some people may not know, but you are a cancer survivor. And I wanted to really spotlight this fact, but also not just as that, but also to bring in the way Taekwondo has influenced that, and how you went through that ordeal. I know that it's very personal, and if you don't mind sharing a little bit, I think especially women and girls really will need to hear the story of resilience, especially now in the midst of COVID-19.
Sure. We all hit those bumps in the road, and I hit a huge one in 2011 when I was training for my first half marathon. I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. So I ran my first half marathon with cancer. 10 days later, I had surgery for stage 3 cancer, and then did chemotherapy. A year later, from that first marathon, I did my second one without cancer. That's kind of my whole attitude, is I'm just going to keep going forward. I set goals, and goals are huge when you're fighting something like this. And having the Taekwondo family, people reaching out saying, oh, do you need help teaching your classes? What can we do for you? And that was my Taekwondo family. And setting goals just helped me so much, and having people teach my classes, my 2 assistant instructors. And I was cancer-free for 5 years. Then whammo, it came back. I did probably a rough chemo where I did lose my hair, a badge, and it was defining in that I'm a fighter and I go forward. The attitude, I have a positive attitude, because if I just sit and wallow in it, that's not the dough. That's not the way. And Taekwondo has taught me about the way. And oh my gosh, what a huge, huge help Taekwondo's been. Then a year after I returned again, not as bad, but I'm going to backtrack. 2012, I tested for my sixth Dan, less than 12 weeks after finishing chemotherapy. And I tested with my Yahoo brothers. Okay. Second chemo, 2019, 18, 19, third chemo. Then I was on maintenance, and many people don't know this yet. I started chemo for the 4th time on February 5th. And this one has kind of thrown me for a loop, but you just go through it. I've had to cancel some Taekwondo classes, but my students and their parents are just amazing, and they're fine with that. And I do teach on Zoom. Mm-hmm. I've not been back to the Y since mid-March, and I'm hoping to return this summer. I can't return right now. My immune system is pretty low, but I'm going to continue teaching via Zoom. I've got to. It's part of my life. Wow. So this is a message to everyone out there. We're faced with hurdles and bumps in the road, and just have faith that, go forward. Wow. That's all I know, is to go forward.
Wow, what an inspiration really you are. I mean, we have tenets of Taekwondo, right? Courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, indomitable spirit. And indomitable spirit, ma'am, you have that, all of them. I mean, I think you're the epitome, the poster child of all of these tenets. And just, having you here, talking about this with such positivity, I think can uplift a lot of spirits. I really do think so. And I guess you already mentioned this, so it's like, everybody has hurdles, and COVID-19 has been a hurdle for many people. They've experienced loss and health concerns and lost their jobs. But everyone, right, like you said, there's a way to push forward, and we are blessed in some sense that Taekwondo gives us that kind of structure to achieve that. And so continue, never give up. And I guess what would you say, what advice would you give them to people, men and women, you know, who feel like maybe they are too old to start Taekwondo or to continue Taekwondo, or they are too injured or too, you know, physically or mentally unhealthy to kind of benefit from a martial art? Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I don't shaw. Okay, 5 years, you're going to be 5 years older, whether you take Taekwondo now or then. Doesn't matter our age and our capabilities and our needs. And Taekwondo is for everyone. And one thing the ITF, International Taekwondo Federation, is being proactive with that, with courses in the older adult, in adaptive for special needs. We modify. And as we get older, we have to modify. I remember early in my Taekwondo career when I saw people doing these jump kicks, and I thought, I'm never going to be able to do those. Okay, I can do those. I can still do many of those. But the idea that we can modify, and it's so helpful to people, whether you have arthritis or if you have high blood pressure or any medical condition or a disability. You work to your potential and way beyond that. And it's individual. You're not competing against anyone else, unless you're sparring.
You're sparring with yourself.
Right. So I'd say go for it. Go for it. Find an instructor that you feel that will be your best fit.
That you trust.
Yes.
That you trust, exactly. And that has integrity, that going again back to those tenets, exactly, to kind of develop you, right, into your own potential or beyond, as you say, absolutely, you know. And it's fascinating. I mean, I see you on Zoom at technical seminars, at all of our seminars constantly, you know, and no matter what, you know, you're there, it doesn't, you know, like, through all your health issues, you know, you just, I think you're, you know, like just your spirit, you're there and you're physically super fit. I mean, you know, it's just amazing what you can do. That I've seen. Yeah, I only hope, you know, I can be like you know, so that's amazing. So I guess to wrap up, I mean, thank you so much, but for everything that you shared with me, and I really appreciate it. But to wrap up, to kind of circle back to that question about, you know, advancing women in Taekwondo and the status of women in Taekwondo, you know, in terms of representation, rank, all of the above. Is it attainable? You know, we have a women's committee here, you know, of course, in ITF America that we're proud of. You know, we're working towards that goal, but is it attainable? What are some ways to achieve it? And what are the hurdles that you see going forward for women in Taekwondo?
Well, some of the hurdles, one is having family support. I've talked to women whose spouse or family don't know why they're doing it, taking time away from them. For me, Taekwondo has always been a priority, that it's a package deal for me. This is part of my life. Finding that time for it, that's another hurdle, that if it's important enough to you, you will find the time to be able to do this. And I found I haven't had too many hurdles, other than when I moved from the school I was at in Albuquerque to Edmond, Oklahoma, no ITF schools at all. I would travel back to Albuquerque. I would travel to Texas to train with Master Nunez. So I continued training. And for women, stick together and just have fun with it too. Mm-hmm. And I still remember, growing up in Taekwondo and training with men and women, and how the camaraderie, the friendships I've developed, and don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. That's a 4-letter word, can't.
I like that.
So you can. you can. And if your instructor doesn't work for you, find someone who will support you and, you know, have your back.
Right. And I think that that's absolutely right. And build that community, you know, from, and never be afraid, I think, to reach out as well. I think, Master Becky, you are very outgoing. I think you're an extrovert. For some people who are maybe introverted and so on, I want to say, you know, never be shy or to reach out to upper ranking women and men, as you point out. Everybody is there to support us, but it does maybe take a little bit of that proactive step to you know, to ask the question, to say, hey, you know, love to schedule a chat with you, you know, be it over Zoom or at a seminar or something like that. Hopefully when that comes back in person would be better. But that's exactly right. So make friends and have fun. Like you said, I think that that's a really big part of it, is not to think about, I'm like the only woman here, but really I'm a Taekwondo martial artist here. And so to just continue in that spirit. Exactly. Well, thank you very, very much. I super appreciated this. I think we can all learn from you and your example. Your mentorship has been invaluable to me. So I really appreciate it so much.